The trade official on Monday after the Sunday reports that John Metchie was headed to the Philadelphia Eagles, both teams announcing their side of it. Houston sending a late-round pick and Metchie to the Eagles. The Texans getting Harrison Bryant and another late-round pick in the trade. And John Metchie now headed to Philadelphia after a stellar training camp. What DeMeco Ryans have to say, stay tuned for that. He also weighs in on what Harrison Bryant brings to the table. But the trade of John Metchie ends his time with the Houston Texans after Nick Caserio traded up for him in the second round and drafted him while he was still recovering from an ACL injury. And then we all know about the cancer diagnosis that Metchie had to go through and what he dealt with at the beginning of his career. And as he got further and further away from that, it was more and more about just being a normal and regular football player. And Metchie was okay last year. He came on strong at the back end of training camp to make the team last year. And then in a couple of opportunities over the course of the season, nothing really to note throughout the course of 2024. Heading into 2025, teetering on the edge of on the roster, off the roster, a little bit of a slow start to training camp for Metchie, but then he got it going. And he had a really nice few weeks of training camp. And it's a good job by Metchie to do that to the point where there is a conversation in the building about should they keep John Metchie, should they keep a different wide receiver or a different player at another position that could be at the back part of the roster. And it's a good job by the Houston Texans to identify a trade partner and get value from a player that had built value over the past few weeks of training camp. Certainly the Texans went from, hey, John Metchie's a factor to this roster, to it would be a shame if we just had to cut John Metchie and we didn't get anything for this wide receiver that has impressed us over the past couple of weeks. And Nick Caserio and Howie Roseman, the general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles, they obviously have an incredible relationship with the numerous trades that they've worked on together in the past couple of years. So pretty easy sell, I'm sure, on both sides of that. And great job by Metchie to build that value. And ultimately, his time here is done in Houston. It never clicked. It never totally worked out for John Metchie. So many struggles at the early part of his career that were out of his control that he had to fight through really kind of set him behind, and he never did catch all the way up to be the type of player that he was at Alabama. Metchie was fantastic for the Crimson Tide, but the injury coming back from that, the cancer diagnosis, it put him so far back and probably put him so far away from the player that he was in college that he never quite lived up to that second round billing. But he'd done a good job carving out a role on this team. And obviously the story of John Metchie is a fantastic one. And you can hear it when DeMeco Ryans talks about his player. It didn't sound like it was easy making this move for DeMeco Ryans.
Trade Metchie was not easy to do. I really have a lot of love and affinity for Metchie, everything that he's been through in his professional career, the things that he had to battle through and push through and overcome. It's just very fond of the guy. And he's an inspiration to myself, inspiration to a lot of people to see what he was able to go through, overcome, get back to playing football. Worked back his first 2 years in this camp. I thought Metchie has looked the best he's looked this camp. He's done a really nice job of preparing himself, putting himself in a really good spot, and he's done everything we asked, did everything the right way. It hurts to lose him, but I know he's going on to a really good opportunity there in Philly, and he'll continue to flourish, and he'll thrive in Philly because Metchie has the right mindset.
As for Metchie's opportunity in Philadelphia, well, he's got an opportunity. I don't know that he would have had one here in Houston as the Texans invested in the wide receivers in the offseason, bringing in 2 draft picks. They also brought in a special teams ace like Braxton Berrios, as well as Justin Watson. And when you start kind of thinking about the roster crunch, well, Nico Collins and Christian Kirk are on this team. The 2 rookies, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll, are on this team. There's 4. Xavier Hutchinson's been really good. There's 5 wide receivers for this Texans wide receiver room. I believe Braxton Berrios is going to be on the team as a special teams forward player with the appeal of helping out at wide receiver. So there's 6. And then At that point, the roster crunch starts to get tight on the wide receivers. Do you keep 7? Is it Metchie? Is it Watson? Obviously, Metchie's a lot cheaper than Watson at this point. Watson was signed as a free agent. Metchie in the final year of a second-round contract deal. So the conversation from a contract standpoint, easier to move on from Metchie, even though he's proven less than Watson at this point in his career. And really it becomes Justin Watson versus another position at the wide receiver spot versus, say, an extra linebacker or an extra defensive lineman or an extra running back for the Houston Texans, and less now Metchie v. Watson v. another position as well. I kind of get the vibe they're going to keep 6 and maybe just try to have options on the practice squad for this team, and then use that spot that maybe would have initially been thought for a 7th player at the wide receiver spot on the roster for, say, a running back like British Brooks, a linebacker like Nick Neiman, a defensive tackle or a defensive end that they want to keep. They broke camp with 8 defensive linemen last year. I have to imagine that number gets closer to 10 this year with the way they operated their roster over the course of last year. They like having defensive linemen available to them. And what does it mean from a roster standpoint for the tight end position? The addition of Harrison Bryant, you would think that a guy getting traded for in a trade would have a roster spot locked up, on lock. He's for sure making the team. Not so fast. It feels to me like the big value in that was getting that draft pick in the 5th round back in this trade. Not Harrison Bryant. DeMeco Ryans, hey, the C word for Bryant. Go out there, compete, and try to win a job.
Harrison will come in and compete. That's one thing. He can run well. He competes at the line of scrimmage, so I'm excited to see, what he does here over the next week.
Not really a ton of time for Bryant to win a job. Irv Smith looked good in the preseason game. Obviously, Irv Smith has been in the building, not in this offense, but he's been in this offense longer than Bryant has been in this offense. So you'd think Irv Smith has a little bit of a leg up on him, and maybe just simply keeping Jakob Johnson as the 3rd tight end and also having him fulfill fullback duties might be enough for that tight end room for the Houston Texans. Maybe they keep some guys around from a practice squad perspective in case they need to adjust or change the roster after a little bit. We know that Dalton Schultz and Cade Stover are a part of this thing, and it would have been much easier to understand the tight end room if Brevin Jordan was available. Unfortunately, the injury takes him out. So if I'm Harrison Bryant, doing everything I can in the next few days to prove that I'm worthy of keeping on this roster. Put me on the 53. Give me a shot to stick around here. Not a lot of time. Cut down day next Tuesday for Bryant. And if the amount of words spoken about a guy meant his security on the roster was high, if there was a lot of words, or low if there was not a lot of words, well, Harrison Bryant, not a lot of words about him from DeMeco Ryans, but hey, opportunity, that's the best that you can get here. If you're a guy like Harrison Bryant, just make the most of these couple of practices, your joint work and the preseason game, and see if you can pop on film and earn you a job. That roster crunch, it's getting crunchy, and it's becoming a little bit more clear. We'll have the roster projection here on the channel before the week is over. That 53 plus who should be on the practice squad as well. Be on the lookout for that video. Be on the lookout for stuff on Houston football, the locker room with myself and Landry Locker, SNL with Landry Locker from the locker room and myself on SNL weekdays, 4 p.m. for the live show on that. Joint practice in Detroit later this week. Tons of stuff coming your way. What do you think about the Metchie trade? Good job by the Texans extracting some value, or do you kind of wish he would have stuck around? Let me know in the comment section down below on your way down there. Thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Appreciate you watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. I can't wait till we talk Texans again soon.